What's up, everybody? I'm Marcus.
And I'm Kayla.
And we are the father-daughter portion of the Rembert Blount Property Group in the Chicagoland area here, serving the skyline to the suburbs.
Yes. So every Wednesday we come to you all with our wine recommendations and then a great real estate topic. So let's hop into the wine.
Yep. So this week's bottle is a 2015 bottle of Monterey Chardonnay, J. Lohr. So shout out to J. Lohr, whoever you are. And maybe depending on what we think of this bottle, maybe not shout out to J. Lohr. All right, so that's a Chardonnay. And so we're going to try this and let you guys know what we think. So our wine rating system is
whether we would rent or own it.
Yep. So with that, you want to give it a taste?
Yes. Okay, you tell the people.
Yeah, I like the fruity notes of it. I actually don't mind this. I prefer I tend to prefer more red wines than white wines. And I don't mind this one. It's got a nice citrusy flavor profile. So I would own this one.
I am going to rent this one. It's a little too fruity for me, and it has a little bit of a tang at the end that I'm not particularly fond of. So I actually like white wine much more than my dad does. But this one is not one of my favorites. Definitely gonna rent it.
All right, well, there you are. So with that, we're going to get into our real estate topic today. Oh, and by the way, if you let us know in the comments if you've tried this particular varietal, or if you have any wines that you recommend that you want us to review, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to get your feedback and any real estate topic. So with that, we're going to get into today's real estate topic, which we're really looking forward to. Is if you guys follow us, or when you do follow us, you'll know that we're very passionate about our love of Chicago and the Chicagoland area. So we're going to talk about underrated towns or areas in the Chicagoland area, and we both chosen one. So I'll let Kayla kick it off.
Okay, so I am very excited about this, like he said. And so mine is, although I love Chicago and the city, mine is actually a suburb that I think is super underrated, and it is Shorewood, Illinois. So a funny story about how actually we came to see how underrated Shorewood is, because when we work in real estate, you kind of have a, you don't see it from the perspective of a buyer. So when we were working actually with my grandmother, we were looking, and she really wanted to live in Plainfield. And my dad said, why don't you check out Shorewood? And immediately she was like, no. But it had not even crossed her mind. She kind of wrote it off. Well, we found her a great house in Shorewood, and she loves it. So Shorewood, while smaller than some of its counterparts, especially Joliet, it's a small town kind of sitting in between Joliet, Plainfield, Minooka, and like I said, not as large. However, Shorewood has some of the best amenities in this area. So you're right off 55, so you can be to the city very quickly. You could be really anywhere you need to be fairly quick, and so it's just convenient. And then tons of shopping, some of the best, it has a Portillo's, so it automatically won me over. But some of just the more stores than we even have in bigger Plainfield. And then they are also building Rock Run Crossing, which is going to be a huge shopping mall off of 55. And I actually got the inside scoop from a buyer who she works for Will County, and she really wanted to buy in Shorewood because she knew that the property values were going to increase, and it was going to become something that was not going to be underrated anymore once they built the mall up. So after hearing that, I was like, okay, great. Do I want to live in Shorewood? It was awesome to hear that from somebody else's perspective who works from Will County and knows what the mall is going to be and how much business it's going to bring this way. So for all of those reasons, and the fact that it does feed into Troy schools, and those are pretty highly rated, I think that Shorewood is not on the map quite yet, but if you're looking to buy, you definitely want to look at it because it's going to be on the map and you can really gain some equity right now.
Yeah, and just a point to clarify. So you said we don't look at real estate from a buyer's perspective. So clarify, like, what do you mean? Like, because people would think, oh, you're realtors, you should look at it from a buyer's perspective.
Yeah, so we have a different, I wouldn't say to me, it wasn't underrated, but I have kind of sometimes we do have to step back and then look at it from how a buyer is going to look at it, because like I said, it's smaller. It doesn't sound, a lot of people have heard of Joliet, you've heard of Plainfield, you may not have heard of Shorewood. So I think it kind of gets overlooked. To me, it wasn't as overlooked because I live in this area, but if you're not familiar with the area, it was just something I had a little bit of a blind spot to before.
Yeah, and it's one of those areas, and I think this is going to lend itself to why it won't be underrated going forward. Because of its population size, it's smaller than the towns that it sits between. However, because you have limited area that you can build in or buy in. So anytime there's scarcity in the town, that also will lend itself to property values increasing over the course of time as well.
Yeah, and even though it's small too, there is still room left to develop.
Yep. That won't be the case for, I don't know if 10 years from now we're having the same conversation.
No, definitely not.
And quick note on the Rock Run Crossing, and this also was why Kayla was so excited about it. Not only is it going to be a mall, it's going to be what you call a lifestyle mall. So it's going to have indoor, outdoor, they've been very intentional in planning it out. So, if you know anything about malls, over the course of time, the number of malls around the country are dwindling. The one segment that is popular still are lifestyle malls. So take that, with a grain of salt. So my town neighborhood is actually in the city of Chicago. And it's the Rogers Park neighborhood. It recently, I forget what publication ranked it like number 3. It was in the top 5 of places to live in America, right? And so a few reasons why I think it was chosen and still underrated is it's on the far north side of Chicago. So you're about 10 miles from downtown, and you have access to public transportation. So if you were to hop on what we call the L, or the elevated train, the L, how long do you think it would take to get
to the loop? You would probably take, depending on time of day, 20-25 minutes to get down there, maybe closer to 30 when it's busy. But to kind of speak to how close it is, Loyola, which is in Rogers Park, has a loop campus. So they make it very accessible. Yeah. And the loop, for those of you who are tuning in, maybe outside of the state of Illinois or outside of the country, even, that's what in Chicago, like the heart of downtown, we call it the loop, because the elevated train loops literally around the downtown area. So you notice we like to flex on our Chicago stats and notes. So with that, Rogers Park also has over 70 different ethnicities in one area. So it's probably the most diverse neighborhood in the Chicagoland area. As Kayla mentioned, its proximity, Loyola University, which is one of the largest Catholic universities in the country, is in Rogers Park. It also sits right adjacent to Evanston, which is the home of Northwestern University. So for that, as Kayla and I were talking about this, she made a great point. If you're somebody looking in that area, whether to occupy a property or to rent it out, you're never going to be without a population who wants to move into that area, because you have 2 large major universities there. It's the only neighborhood in Chicago that has the distinction of having 10 beaches, because Rogers Park also sits to the east of it. You have about 10 miles or so of lakeshore access. So on a nice day, if you want to take a bike ride into the city, because Chicago is so well designed that you have a lakefront bike trail that runs from the far north side of the city all the way to the far south side, you can make a day out of it. And there are tons of places to stop on the lakefront during the warm months, where you can have a glass of wine. If you just want to sit out and chill, people grill along the lakefront. So many of options. Yeah, and I will say that I sold a condo earlier this year in Rogers Park, and when I was asking my client just, some things she liked about Rogers Park that we could pass on to the other buyers, she was saying that her and her daughters just loved the proximity to the water. Every day during the summer they would just walk to the beach, and she actually decided to stay in Rogers Park because of that. So knowing that it's a little beach town in Chicago.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, literally. Yeah, like and that's what surprised me as we were talking about this. That's what surprised me. That it is still underrated. Kayla's also being a little modest. Not only did she sell our client's condo in Rogers Park, but she also found them a great place to live with a lake view, which they love, and they entertain their rooftop as well. So with that, if you are thinking about buying, selling, or investing, you have any questions about real estate, feel free to message us directly. Please like and subscribe and share this with anybody who you think may be interested. And as I said before, we're always open to any recommendations on wines that we should be trying, whether they're red or white wines, and any real estate topics that you'd like to know about coming up too, that you'd like for us to discuss. So until then, we're going to end on this note that life is a gift from God.
Style is how you live it. Cheers.
Cheers.